So welcome to another unbagging video from theplayersaid.com. My name's Alexander, and we're going to take a look at C3i magazine, issue number 35. It's a brand new one from RBM Studios, and if you don't know C3i, check it out. If you've played any GMT games, especially kind of more recent ones, this is a great magazine. It's a magazine that has a bunch of wargaming articles in it, but also you get a ton of extra stuff in this. So this one includes a couple games, and a couple scenarios, and a bunch of errata counters, and we'll kind of go through some of that stuff here. So let's open it up. When you get it, it comes in this big polythene bag, which we will summarily ditch, but you'll be grateful you do, because there is a ton of stuff in here. So the actual magazine itself, very, very nice, and if you read any of these, you'll get what you're used to. So you're looking at about 63 odd pages of various articles. You get Mark Herman's Cleo's Corner. You're going to get interviews with designers. You're getting alternate scenarios for games that you've already played, games that are in development. You get a ton of stuff. This one looks like we had a really nice, we will read this, tribute to John Hill and Chad Jensen. So we'll take a, this is great wargame reading, and you'll recognize a lot of the games in this, but you also get, extra scenarios for Flying Colors. There's a new scenario for SPQR in this, and, just a ton of great stuff. Magazine-wise, it's a great magazine anyway. So, but all the extra fun stuff that you get is half the reason you buy these, or the whole reason for some people. So this year we got Burma from Mark Herman, and this is the rule book. And this is, if you played Empire of the Sun, this is a modified Empire of the Sun system. And if you remember, a couple years ago we had, was it called South Pacific, which was a Guadalcanal scenario. I'm pretty sure it was anyway. Now I've said that out loud. Guadalcanal scenario, and it uses the core Empire of the Sun system, but it's modified and it's at a different scale. This is that again, but this is kind of a land war of Burma. So the actual rulebook itself is not insignificant. So you get a whole separate rulebook, and it's very much, if you've read Empire of the Sun, you'll know a lot of this will feel familiar. You'll want to read it carefully though, because there will be some just slight differences, modifications, things that are left in, things that are tweaked. Couple of scenarios in here as well. A sequence of play on the back. But yeah, this is a magazine game that has a 30-page rulebook. So this is not a small little kind of tiddlywinks game, is what I would say. But this is the map for it. So you're going to play this, but this is the map. It's the Burma section and the kind of India section of the Empire of the Sun map. I think this might be slightly blown up in size. I could be wrong about that. It just seems a little bit, the hexes might be a little larger. That's probably not true, but general records track for turns, things like that. And we have our War in Europe track, the Japanese divisions in China, Burma Road track. All of these things that you're very familiar with, having played Empire of the Sun, it's all here, but you're playing just this very small focused and at a slightly larger scale, different focus, or smaller scale is what I would say, game within that. So I'm very interested to try this. So that's the map and the rules. The counters are on the counter sheet, which is at the bottom of this stack, but you get these cards, and these cards are on very thin card or very heavy paper, and it's I'm gonna ruin it. So they're perforated. Oh, you gotta be careful. I know a lot of you guys have done this with some of the old games back in the day, but you just take your time punching these out. There's no rush. No one's going anywhere. So this is the card. You'll want to sleeve these if you're gonna play it seriously. I use sleeves for South Pacific, and they're invaluable for this. But yeah, you're gonna punch all the cards out, and you've got a small little deck of cards. So these are the Japanese ones. They're red on the back. Are the American ones blue on the back? No, they're white on the back. Okay. And I say American, I should say Allied. So here we've got ourselves more of those, but a lot of the things that you'll be familiar with. So there's a Chiang Kai-shek card in the other game, but What it does might be slightly different. I'm sure it probably is. And the cards themselves are just more focused and do more focused things within the theatre. And we've got the allied ones here as well. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 16, 24 cards each. So it's not a massive, massive game in that sense as well. You don't have to memorize 60 cards and try and play that part of it. But that's most of the stuff for that game. And that's like a hardcore game. Like, if you buy this magazine, it's worth it just for that. If you would be an all cost-benefit analysis kind of a person, which, fair play to you if you are, but the magazine is worth the price of entry and you get a free game, or you get the games are worth the price of entry and you get a free magazine, plus you get all the extra stuff too. So, this is something that I thought was just kind of funny. So this is a whole new SPQR battle module. And they just released, the SPQR Deluxe box with everything in it a couple of years ago, and lo and behold, here we are with yet more as well. So it's a series, Great Battles of History, that's never going away. It's too easy to make more and to put more out there for it, honestly. And it's such a successful and well done series. 217. And so we got a couple different scenarios for this particular variant. But yeah, rules, setup, scenario for this comes with its own entire 22 by 34 map. That's Lake Trasimene. I don't know. I'm gonna butcher that. But yeah, if you've played GBOH, you know what you're getting yourself into. You have different layers of terrain types, and we've got some kind of wooded scrub, Hannibal's Camp, and then some rough kind of rocky terrain intermittently, and then a road going along. But like, you buy this magazine, you get kind of all the fun stuff. If you own a couple of these games, the value of this is exponential on top of what you get. So here we've got Labyrinth ISIL. So you have a 2050, you get a whole extra scenario for Labyrinth. If you own Labyrinth and you've got some of those expansions, here's more Labyrinth. And it just gives you different parameters under which to play and different cards to set up and to mix from the different expansions that already exist. And they just give you different parameters under which to play and different constraints to model different parts of it and to focus on different parts of the game. And it's the little tidbits like this that just make C3i so good. Here we also have a Solitaire Game. This one, without sounding derogatory, this one is more of a little tiddlywinks game. This is the rules for this Solitaire Game. They started doing these a couple of years ago, maybe it was just 1 year ago. They did, was it Firebase Vietnam, maybe? And it was a kind of tower defense style game. But this is a little lunchtime game. You take this to work, you take the couple counters with it, put them in a little coffee mug, and then you use some dice and play this little game on your desk. This is the map. These are the rules. Which, I will play this one and let you know how it is, but it's the kind of thing that it's like, you just get it free in the magazine, and you just get to play this. Yeah, so it's the Good to Go series. This is Volume 2. And the first one was the Vietnam game. I think it was last year. So then we get to the sheet of counters here. So these are the counters for Burma. So it's these ones here. And again, if you've played Empire of the Sun, all of those counters will look very familiar in style to you. From the ground units to the unit silhouettes of the naval units and the air units. So we got a bunch of Commonwealth units here. US Air Force, some Chinese units, and then some Japanese land and air units mostly. Do we have any naval units? Not really. There we do. Okay, we do. We got some Royal Naval units down here as well. And then we got some Japanese naval units. I couldn't see those. So, next we've got some units for flying colors. Units, little admin markers. We have an Imperium marker for Pendragon. We have some errata counters for Atlantic Chase. And this one's also a little ship for flying colors also. As are all of these ships here. So I think that's part of the scenario that was in here, I'm guessing. And then we've got some special units for the GBOH scenario that's included. But then we also have a couple of GBOH errata counters, specifically for SPQR. And these are all labeled as well. So this says here, Men of Iron Tripack. These are Men of Iron Tripack errata counters. Then we've got a Time for Trumpets errata counters. That's what all of these are. And then we have these, these seizure markers are for Men of Iron. But then I believe these are for this game here. You have these markers are for the Romans, and these are for the barbarians that you have to defend against, I believe. And, you know, dual-sided, all these counters that you'd expect. But that's what you get in here. Usually you're getting errata counters or different, you know, a very tiny little variant. Like there was like a Normandy 44 variant that had like 2 counters in it. And it's just like, it just adds a little tiny bit to a game that you already have so that you get an extra little bit of focus on that thing. And that's something I really like about C3i, is you're going to get a cool game out of it that I'm sure is very good. But just the extras that you get are just so fun. You get to crack open all the other games that you haven't touched for a couple of months and add a couple counters in, and you get excited to play those again. And then on top of that, you get what is, you know, industry standard, you know, very good Wargame magazine content as well. And there's a lot of Wargame magazines out there, and all of them have their merits. But this one is, you know, it's hard to pass up on this because of just how much you get in it as well. So if this is something that you're interested in, if you've never read a Wargame magazine, this is an excellent place to start because it enhances so much of what other wargames you might already have. And it also, you know, like all magazines, they put tons of stuff in it so that it's used as a selling platform as well, right? You're like, oh, there's a variant for this game in here. That sounds so cool. Maybe I'll go and get that game, right? That happens in every wargame magazine, this one especially as well. But I'm very excited to dive into some of the stuff that's in here. Yeah, Burma is not a small game, which is always nice when you get some beef in there, but you do get a small game as well. You get some extra scenarios and things, so appreciate you very much for tuning in. That's a first kind of look at C3i Magazine issue number 35 from RBM Studios. Check it out if you're interested. Appreciate you tuning in. I've been Alexander from theplayersaid.com.